Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Will on Safety. This evening, we're going to cover another health and safety misconception. And that misconception is complying with health and safety law is expensive. Now, I know the costs of running a business, especially in today's sort of financial climate that we're in, is super expensive and only getting more and more expensive. However, deciding to cut corners and taking shortcuts when it comes to complying with health and safety law is not the way you want to be going to save money. There is an immediate upfront cost when implementing any sort of health and safety system. It's important that companies have competent health and safety people working or on a retainer for those companies. That comes at a cost. It's also really important that you have a good health and safety management system in place, and that can be costly to implement as well. On top of that, if you're using kit and equipment, obviously that'll be subject to statutory checks and balances. And if we start taking shortcuts in not getting those types of things done, you only really have to do a sort of cost-benefit analysis, and you'll see that the cost of an accident will far, far outweigh the cost of putting in any health and safety system or ensuring that the company is in line and complying with health and safety law. As a result, some direct and indirect costs on an unsafe workplace can include some of the following. Poor attendance. If you're not looking after your staff, if your staff feel like they're in a bit of a health and safety danger area, people aren't really taking their safety to heart, they're not looking after employee safety, they might decide that they might not want to come into work that often. That can lead to poor attendance. Poor attendance means you've got less people doing the work. That means less output, and that also means sort of less customer satisfaction as well. The less you're outputting, the less money you're making ultimately. Low performance. Again, if employees see that the company doesn't really take health and safety seriously, it can lead to poor performance. People will just see a culture of not caring. So why should they care about what they do within your business? You'll see an increase in work-related sickness and injuries. Again, if people are off sick or they get injured, they're entitled to sick pay. That's you paying them whilst they're off work. Again, that's a reduction in your production, or it's an increase in your costs. If you're having staff off and they're off for, maybe a week or a couple of weeks, you may well have to get staffing from outside sources, and that's going to come at an expense. So it's really important that we make sure we're complying with health and safety law and we're looking after our people, because if we're doing that, we're going to have less sickness, less work-related illnesses. Next, high staff turnover. Again, people don't tend to want to work, especially in today's climates, for companies that can be seen as not caring for them. If you're not willing to look after your employees' health and safety, ultimately they're going to be unwilling to work for you. They may well get a better offer from a company with a better health and safety culture. They'll feel more valued. They'll feel like they're being looked after, so they might move on. So next, investigating accidents. Again, takes time away from production. Depending on the severity of the accidents, it may well need external authorities. Maybe the HSE will have to come to site, the police, etc., etc. If you've had an accident on a production line, for example, that line may well be closed down until we get to the bottom of the accident. Again, it's going to hit your profits. You're not going to be able to turn over the amount of work. You might have to send people home because they can't be at work while the investigation's going on. So it's all costs. If external investigators come in, people like the HSE, for example, and they see there's issues around the sites, it can lead to things like prohibition and enforcement notices. Maybe they'll tell you to stop production until things improve. Maybe you'll get a HSE fine. If they have to write to you for any sort of correspondence, you'll also get a fee for intervention. It's all money that's being taken out of your pocket as a business. So we need to, we need to take health and safety seriously. Fines and compensation. Yeah, you might be fined by the health and safety executive for failings in health and safety. It could also lead to criminal fines as well. Obviously, if you're injuring people or you have a fatality, there'll be families wanting to be compensated for that as well. Again, those costs can spiral out of control. If you don't take health and safety seriously, and we are damaging people, maybe somebody gets injured and ends up disabled and can't work again. You as a business are going to have to pick that cost up because there will be a claim coming your way because you haven't looked after that individual. And potentially, that could be catastrophic for you as a business. It'll either take a huge chunk away from your annual profits, or worst case scenario, maybe it's too big and it closes you down as a business. Damage to business reputation, okay? Good reputations are hard fought and easily lost. So, you could have been building your business reputation for years and years and years, and maybe you've got 40 years of having a good reputation, but then you have a fatality on site, maybe you have a fire on site, maybe something goes wrong. What that's going to do to your reputation is, where you've been going up at a steady rate of knots, it's just going to take a nosedive. And no business wants that because it takes you years and years and years, decades in some cases, to build that reliable, trustworthy reputation up. And it can be gone in the blink of an eye. And before you know it, people don't want to work with people with a bad reputation for safety. So it's mega important that, ultimately you lead by example when it comes to taking health and safety seriously, and don't be one of these companies that become the example. Okay. Next, loss of contracts and clients. Excuse me. Goes hand in hand really with damage to business reputation. So if your business gets damaged reputationally, clients and contracts, excuse me, will be a lot harder to come by. So, it's like what we said on the previous one, to do a reputation. It takes years to build a good key client and contact list up. And that's built up over time because clients, they trust you, they trust your brand, they trust your company. But if you've got a damaged reputation, they'll go elsewhere because they don't want to be associated with somebody that doesn't take health and safety seriously, doesn't look after their staff, and ultimately have a lot of accidents. And ultimately, if they're a client, they're going to be buying a product off you, okay? So if you're having a lot of accidents, maybe you're going to be giving them a subpar product. Maybe that product's going to take a lot longer to produce. So key timings are missed. Ultimately, it's going to lead to those contracts and clients going elsewhere. And finally, damage to property due to any sort of accidents. So don't take health and safety seriously, and we don't invest, put that money into health and safety. Ultimately, with this rise in accidents, we're not just talking about accidents to people, it's damage to property as well. If we're damaging kit and equipment, it obviously needs to be fixed. In some cases, it might be too costly to fix. You might have to replace it, okay? So really, by whatever money you're saving by taking these health and safety shortcuts or not investing that money into health and safety, ultimately, you're going to lose hand over fist. Health and safety is one of those subjects where it is quite a hefty upfront cost. And, it's really hard to see the business payback until you do a sort of cost-benefit analysis. So when you're thinking about, whether to invest in safety, whether to invest in safety systems, competent advisors and stuff, what you really need to be thinking of is, don't just look at the cost of the implementation. Think about the cost of, worst case scenario. If I don't have this in place, what is the worst case that can happen? And you will see that investment, is more than worth the money. So that's it for today's health and safety misconception, and that is complying with health and safety law is expensive. It is expensive, but not when you compare it to the cost of accidents, the cost of damaged equipment, the cost of reputation, possible loss of clients, etc., etc. People, especially in today's modern age, want to work with companies that have safety at their forefront, look after their individuals, look after their products, look after their buildings and stuff. So although it is an expense, and it can be a hefty expense, do that cost-benefit analysis and you will see it's well worth putting the money into. Okay, so that's it for this evening's health and safety misconception. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've got any questions, comments or anything else, just drop me a comment below. If you want to hear me talk about something else, another health and safety subject, again, drop me a comment. If you haven't already, I would really, really appreciate if you could subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell on this video. Do it now while I've got you. I've got your attention. It's just down here. It's got a YouTube sign. Just hit that. That'll be you subscribed. Helps me grow the community. Ultimately, I want to get the message of health and safety out to as many people as I can. My videos, I try and do no-nonsense videos to give you the information you need without all the fluff, the animations, the cartoony stuff. It's really important we spread the message of good health and safety culture. So, like I said, any comments, pop them in the comments box. I'll try and answer all of them. If you haven't already, subscribe, like, hit that notification bell. And until next time, folks, remember, stay safe by choice, not by chance. Take care for now. Bye.